know what? I got an ag exemption on this property here.
Not really. There is no such thing as an agricultural exemption in Texas. You often hear the phrase ag exemption used, but that's not accurate. It is actually an agricultural valuation of a property rather than a tax exemption.
Okay then, what exactly is an agricultural valuation?
It is a different way to appraise property. Most properties are appraised based on the current market value. Back in the 1960s, concern that urban sprawl was diminishing agricultural lands led to a different strategy to appraise land for taxes. Instead of using the current market value to determine the tax rate, agricultural land could be appraised on its production value. This usually would result in a lower tax rate. The landowner would pay less in taxes, and family farms and ranches would stand a better chance of surviving over the years. In Texas, voters amended the Constitution in 1966 to enact this type of appraisal. Adoption of Article 8, Section 1D allows taxes on agricultural land to be based upon the land's productive value, the value of the agricultural products that can be produced from the land. This is for lands where the primary use is for raising livestock or growing crops, and it is the primary source of income of the owner. In 1978, Texas voters approved another amendment, Article 8, Section 1D1. This was for the stated purpose of promoting the preservation of open-spaced lands. Section 1D1 expanded the properties to those owned by individuals whose primary occupation and income are not derived from agriculture. In 1995, Section 1D1 was amended again and added lands devoted to wildlife management purposes to the list of open-spaced properties. This is what we now refer to as a wildlife tax valuation.
A wildlife tax valuation. How does it work?
To do this, the land must already have a current 1D1 appraisal status, and it must be in effect for 1 year before the switch can be made to manage for wildlife. A new appraisal application needs to be submitted along with a wildlife management plan. Both go to the local county tax appraiser's office for approval.
What's the minimum number of acres that are allowed?
If the land was reduced in size during the tax year prior to applying for conversion to a wildlife tax valuation, there is a minimum acreage requirement. These minimum acreages vary by county. By switching to a wildlife tax valuation, you are declaring that the primary use of the property is for wildlife management. This means the tract of land is actively being managed to sustain a breeding, migrating, or wintering population of indigenous wildlife. The indigenous wildlife must be produced for human use, including food, medicine, or recreation. Recreation can be as simple as enjoying seeing animals on your land.
This is him. We have the golden cheek warbler, which is the cutest little bird ever to live, and that is just a highlight of our year, is waiting for them to come through.
Oh my God, he's so beautiful.
Indigenous animals are animals that are native. A breeding population sustains enough animals so that the population doesn't die out. Migrating populations move through Texas to other seasonal ranges over the course of the year. A wintering population moves into Texas for its winter range. Many bird species migrate through or winter in Texas.
What if I still want to run some cattle or grow some hay?
The property can be managed for secondary uses like grazing livestock or hay production. However, those operations cannot interfere with wildlife management practices or be detrimental to the wildlife species targeted for management. Grazing, when used in a proper rotation, can be very beneficial to wildlife. It can replicate the grazing impact that buffalo historically provided on the landscape.
So how do I make this switch to the wildlife tax valuation? My property already has the 1D1 agricultural status, and that's had that for over a year. So I'm good there.
The first step is to target an indigenous wildlife species that your management practices will benefit. It must be a native species. For instance, you cannot manage for axis deer or blackbuck antelope, since these are exotic species. The species you manage for must be relevant to your property. For instance, if you only have 10 acres, managing for white-tailed deer isn't really feasible since they require a larger range of 1 square mile. However, managing for songbirds or pollinators would be more relevant to a tract of 10 acres.
So what kind of management am I supposed to do?
Management practices will vary depending on the region and the species being targeted. What works in the piney woods of East Texas may not be applicable to the deserts of the Trans-Pecos. There are 7 categories of management practices that the program identifies, and you must actively be engaged in at least 3 of these practices. Those practices must also benefit your targeted species. These categories include habitat control, which could include brush management or prescribed burning. Erosion control. This could include pond repair or streamside revegetation. Predator control could be treatment for fire ants or removal of feral hogs.
I am all for that. Dang pigs are tearing up the place.
Providing supplemental water could be wetland restoration or well overflow. Providing supplemental food could be planting a food plot or rotational grazing. Providing shelters. This could be placing nest boxes or half-cutting trees or shrubs. Performing census counts or surveys to determine the population of the targeted species.
There's one right there. There he goes. There you go. That's fun.
There can be multiple practices in each category, but the 3 of 7 rule still applies.
How do I know I'm doing the right kind of management?
Management practices must comply with the set rules published in the Comprehensive Wildlife Management Planning Guidelines for your region. Your regional Texas Parks and Wildlife biologist can help you create a management plan that will address the requirements for your application.
Okay, how do you get this application going?
You must submit 2 forms to the County Tax Appraisal Office for the county where your property exists. The first form is an application for 1D1 Open Space Agricultural Use Appraisal Form. You can download it from most county tax appraisal websites, or you can find it on the Texas Comptroller's website. The Comptroller publishes guidelines for qualification, which may answer some of your questions. If you have specific questions about the application form, address those directly to the County Tax Appraisal Office. The second form is the PWD 885 1D1 Open Space Agricultural Valuation Wildlife Management Plan. Fill in the plan to detail the management practices you have selected for your property. Generally, these plans will cover multiple years of management. If you know you will be switching practices over time, you should include a schedule or timeline detailing those changes.
Holy moly, this thing is 10 pages long, and I'm not doing any erosion control.
It's okay. Every box does not need to be filled in. You only need to fill in places that pertain to your particular management plan. This plan and many other resources can be found on the TPWD website. You can also find the wildlife biologist assigned to your county that can assist you in developing your plan and getting advice.
Does a Parks and Wildlife biologist have to come out on my property to sign off on this plan?
No, you can develop a management plan on your own. The law does not require you to consult a TPWD biologist, nor must TPWD approve your plan. You just need to use the PWD 885 form along with the application.
Okay, I've got my 1D1 application done and my PWD 885 completed. So these go to Parks and Wildlife?
No. Both need to be submitted for final approval to your county appraisal district by April 30th of the year in which you wish to qualify. Implement your selected practices as soon as you can. Some appraisal districts want to verify that you are actively managing your property. They may want to see that you are engaged in 3 of the 7 management practices before they approve your application. Talk to your county appraisal office to see what they are looking for.
What about the county? Do they come out here?
The county will inspect your property to see if it meets the criteria for the plan. The inspection will happen sometime during the year. Generally, you will not be given a specific date of inspection. If you wish to be present for the inspection, contact the appraisal office and ask to be notified prior to their visit. Most appraisal offices are happy to accommodate a reasonable request.
Okay, I've submitted both forms to the county tax appraisal office. Now what?
Once you have submitted the forms, generally you are accepted unless you hear otherwise. So sit back and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Your life will be enriched by watching wildlife flourish on your property. You can also take pride in the knowledge that you are protecting our open spaces, water quality, and the natural legacy of Texas.